Preet. Welcome to PW People
Thank
Business
you so
Awards.
much.
It's a
Thank
pleasure to be speaking with you. First of all, you had an amazing session, so
Thank
all
you.
congratulations to you. Now, in continuation to what you've already spoken, we would really like to know your views on what is or how do you envision the workplace culture in times to come, since it's evolving now. There is a different debate of what the workplace should look like, and there are talks of hybrid workplace. What, in your view, is the future of workplace?
Thank you. Thank you, first of all, for having me here on Business World. It's an amazing conference, an amazing summit,
Thank you so much.
and wonderful to interact with a lot of leaders and with all of you as well.
Thank you.
So yeah, I think from a workplace culture perspective, we all, as leaders, as whether it's business or from the HR fraternity, need to be really mindful of the kind of talent or the demographics of talent which is coming into the workplace. First of all,
Okay.
it's so important for us to understand the generation that is coming in and the kind of needs or requirements that they come with. When I say that, it clearly means that while we've had the different generations today and the whole multi-generational space which is there in the workspace, the culture has to, in a way, come with that level of cognizance and that level of an understanding or appreciation of the fact that people are coming with different needs, different requirements, different elements of flexibility. And
Okay.
when I say that, a workplace culture has to, in a way, adapt to all these needs in this, whether it was the older generations or the Gen Zs that we're talking about. We must be mindful of that entire platter of generations, and as a result of that, what are the kind of culture dynamics that are going to be at play? What are the kind of situations or scenarios that we have to work with? All of that has to come into play, and we need to be mindful of that when we are creating, like I was sharing previously, how are we able to create those progressive policies at workplace? How are we able to create a culture that brings in the entire element of collaboration and not competition? Because
Okay.
to innovate, to be there on the same table, you need those minds to thrive and function together. So can I collaborate and not compete in the future? Is the kind of workplace culture that not just we're trying to build, but I'm sure many progressive organizations are working towards.
Okay, well, you're saying that there are many organizations which are working towards making it progressive, while there are also certain organizations who are also emphasizing on the need of having increasing work hours at work.
Right, absolutely.
I am, suggesting an example. Karnataka government has recently been
Right.
into picture wherein the employers are expecting the government to emphasize on the need of having 14 hours a day, which approximately means 2 days of
Right.
work in one single day. While it is still a very debatable aspect and still into consideration, but I would still like to know your views on this. It's got nothing to do with the government from south or not, but then it's a collective effort, because if something is going to be implemented in one part, it will automatically impact the
Correct.
other as well.
Correct.
While there are leaders speaking on work-life balance, and on the other hand, employees expecting employees to come back to work as well, and on camera talking about having a hybrid culture, what are your views on this? How will you uh, uh, bind all these expectations from an employer's standpoint, and what exactly is your expectation from the employee base?
Right. So thanks again. I think it's a very interesting and a very debatable subject as we speak, as we're talking about. There are mixed views,
Okay.
from the fraternity of the employers, or when we talk about it from an employee's point of view. The way I look at it, I think the mantra is flexibility. And
Okay.
it's not work-life balance, it's work-life integration.
Okay.
It is not about the fact that you're looking at what are the choices every individual wants to make. I think that's what is going to really thrive and be the mantra for the future. And when I say flexibility, flexibility could mean different things to different people.
Exactly.
And having said that, I may want to stretch for 3 days, let's say in a week, and potentially do 12 to 14 hours, so to speak, and then take the rest of my week off, as an example. It's a very
Exactly.
radical thought.
Exactly.
On the other side, there may be people who want the right kind of balance, the right kind of integration on an everyday basis or on an ongoing basis, and they may want to stick to their 8 to 9 hours of work on a daily basis. So I think the most important aspect here is, are we able to create those flexible work models, those flexible policies that can adapt that can create, the right kind of environment for people, which can then, in a way, offer the right productivity or efficiencies at work also, and can give the right platters or platforms to people to be able to make their choices. When you're able to create those flexible work policies or guidelines, it can allow employees themselves to choose what works best for them. What
Okay.
is it that can work really well, saying that, do I have the option to do part-time works, do I have the option to do full times in such a way that I can do my work week in a very, very creative style,
But
so to
even if
speak.
employees want to go for part-time work, then they are charged under moonlighting.
Yeah. You're right, and that's what I'm saying. Can a scenario get created, because the whole gig space is up there. It is a space which every corporate setup, every place has to mature now. Even if it isn't, it has to mature in terms of creating those gig working spaces, those, the moonlighting piece that you're talking. It has to create those policies in such a way that it makes it all available for employees. You could choose what
So
is
actually,
it
you
that
got to put
works.
it,
It's like
present it on paper so
absolutely,
that it becomes legal. Yeah.
absolutely. It becomes legal. It becomes appropriate, that this is what is the right framework for anybody. You could work on contracts, you could work, different styles and different, gig scenarios or situations. You could do all of that in the legal frameworks and setups. So when I say flexibility, it could potentially be, work 12 to 14 hours. It could mean 4 hours, and combinations. It could mean anything, depending on what works best for me, so that I can integrate my work and my life
So that the
very
arrangement
beautifully.
has to be made between the
Absolutely.
employer and employee.
Absolutely.
Now, my last question to you. What are the kind of skills that you see booming in times to come, since we have the adoption of AI now
Yes.
massively across
Yes.
organizations? What are the kind of skills that you see growing in times to come?
The most critical one, I would say, is your learning agility itself. The
Okay.
ability to be able to unlearn and, relearn and upskill yourself. But the learning agility, does an individual possess that agility to learn and keep on, upskilling themselves, or being on the path of continuous learning? So that's the number one skill which is really needed, so that people can, look at any kind of future that's going to hit them on the face, whether it's AI, whether it's any other element whatsoever. So when we hire for people, looking for learning agility is the number one aspect, so that they have the potential to learn, adapt, move, change at whatever pace it may be. That's number one. Number two is a skill to collaborate, a skill to function together in cross functional environments and pieces like that. Because in the future, it's not as much about competition as much as it is going to be about collaboration, because through that, you can innovate. Through that, you work together in synergies, you work together to innovate and, bring out the best solutions forward. So, can you collaborate and not really compete? That's the
Okay.
number two, aspect. And
Okay.
number three, of course, I think a no-brainer is a scenario wherein you have the digital fluency. Having that and the ability to then, have that mind space to pick the digital nuances, to be able to, even if, you're working for an HR organization, you work for an organization which is not your digital pillars, so to speak, but having that digital fluency will create that mind space that, yes, can I adapt and, recreate your processes for building in better productivity or efficiency, so to speak. So I think the three important elements are your learning agility, are your digital fluency, and your ability to collaborate and not compete.
Well, you've beautifully summed up actually all the three aspects with examples. Leads to my last question
Sure.
that I would want you to speak on. Recently, we had, Ashneer Grover speaking that, recruitment processes also need evolvement.
True.
While recruiting, we take tons of days and months, and in the meantime, the employee also understands what is employer expecting out of me, and there is a certain framework that
Right.
an employer tends to behave in. While he's of the view that, the recruitment process needs to change, it should be hire and fire fast.
True.
Get people on board, make them work, see within a month or two that are they fitting your bill or not. Do you think this kind of a recruitment or change or evolvement will actually help you onboard skilled professionals, and that, how easily can you judge that, maybe this person is a best fit for my the segment or the skill professional that I'm looking at? So what's your view on that?
Right. So I think if you connect it to your previous context, which was about the kind of skills you hire for.
Exactly.
When we talk about hiring for these specific skills that I spoke about, one is your hiring for the subject matter expertise or the
Right.
know-how or the technical expertise that anybody is bringing to the table. Now that's your bread and butter skill set,
Exactly.
right?
Basic.
Which is your basic. Having said that, so let's say somebody from a hiring standpoint or from a recruitment strategy standpoint is able to get through your so-called technical expertise elements or your subject matter expertise. If you're able to hire people for all these additional layers that I spoke about, whether it's the learning agility or the digital fluency or a culture to collaborate and innovate, as an example, if you're able to assess these elements in people while you're hiring in and bringing in for future potential, not for the current role. If you can hire for that future potential, that is when you should be able to assess them also in the same beautiful environment, that are they the right culture fit? Are they
Okay.
fitting in well into your whole ecosystem? And if they're not, you of course have your probations and your confirmations to, decide if somebody is not really fitting in well. But if you only hire for your technical expertise and not really look at those additional behavioral elements and competencies, that's when those challenges come arise, and you tend to struggle, because today all organizations are hiring people for the organizations, not
Exactly.
just for that one role, one position.
And then after some point in time,
Yeah.
they say it was project basis. Now that the project is over, so we
Exactly.
cannot employ you
Exactly.
any further,
Which
and
is
we'll
why
have to lay off.
your needle shift has to happen at the hiring stage itself. Don't hire for that subject matter expertise alone. Look for those additional aspects. Look at those broader, frameworks and competencies, and see whether the person's fitting in, depending on the culture frameworks or the, the larger mindset of the organization. Is that fitment happening? Only then is when we should ideally hire, and not just for that technical expertise. So I think if that's taken care of, I think we're going to be more successful in our hiring strategies.
Thank you so much. It was a pleasure speaking with you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.